Hey.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. It's good to see everybody tonight. As always, we're expecting to have a good time. If it's your first time on whatever channel you're watching on, we're glad that you made it. Hit that subscribe. How about that? Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Okay. Like I said, glad you guys made it back. I don't know how far I made it into it. My phone kicked on, my earplugs went out the window, but nevertheless, we're glad you're here. Glad you made it. Wherever you're watching from, if you'll hit that like button and push the video out, we appreciate it. And how are you guys doing tonight? Obviously, I guess I should address you're not Larry, but I'm sure glad you're here because I told Larry that you are much better to look at than he is, even though I love my buddy Larry. So I welcome you tonight. Larry wasn't feeling good, and I hope he gets to feeling better. How you doing tonight, Cassie?
Fantastic. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Dave, you guys doing all right? Kip?
Yeah, doing great. Good to be on the live with you and looking forward to having some fun.
I'm excited to be on here with all y'all and talk carnivore and learn a lot from each other, because each week we might tell you some of our opinions, but we also gain a lot of knowledge from each other. So I'm excited to get into this chat.
Absolutely. And I'm horrible with these things as far as the super chats and different things, but I do recognize like the new channel members, whichever channel you're on, we appreciate that as well. I'm assuming the little link thing means it's one of you guys, but it doesn't tell me which one. So I do want to recognize it and thank you guys for doing that. You guys, every little bit helps each channel. Some of this stuff gets wild. So, we appreciate all that you guys do, the super chats and all those things. It definitely helps and we appreciate it. So, anybody got anything they want to share before we get rocking with some of these questions tonight? Anything going on with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I will. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I started a Sunday live stream. It is Coffee with Cassie, and that's every Sunday morning right around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then on Tuesdays, Larry and I do a trivia night, which is also live. So those are exciting things and something fun and different.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Kip, you got anything, buddy?
Well, for the rest of this weekend, I'm just going to be hanging out with the wife here at the house. But then Sunday, since she gave a little plug, I'll give a little plug too. Sunday, I'm going to be smoking meat. But what's going to be cool is it's going to be on a live stream with Mr. Kerry from Homestead Howell. So we're going to be both live at the same time, and we're going to be both cooking barbecue and just hanging out and chatting. And we're going to pretend that we're sitting there together eating the food at the same time. I think it'll be cool. What about you, Dave? What you got planned this weekend?
Not a lot this weekend because I've got work coming up, but also I'll just plug something as well. On Monday, I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going live with Chad from Minimalist Carnivore, Alia Wells, and Nicole from former Fat Girl. And we're going to be trying a few different things on the live stream to get a little bit more audience engagement. So tune into that if you can.
Awesome. That sounds like a great time. Everybody got stuff going on. I'm like Kip. Yesterday was my 21st wedding anniversary, and so I didn't do a whole lot. What's going on, Dr. Chapey? You doing all right? It's good to see you.
I'm good, man. Yeah, congratulations on and happy anniversary.
Thank you. She's worked for about 20 years now as a kindergarten teacher, so that's how she's put up with me for that long. So she got some good
childish people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What you got going on tonight, man? Anything good going on with you? Been into anything, studying anything, learned anything that you can share with us tonight?
Well, just in general or just today? Well, I've got a bunch of different interviews and things like that I'm doing today, and then I'm I'm preparing for a few different conferences. I'll be speaking at a number of different conferences. So the Metabolic Health Summit in San Diego in August, so next month, will be the August 16th to the 20th. So I'll be there in San Diego. And so just getting ready for that, I'm giving a lecture on glioblastoma brain tumors and ketogenic metabolic therapy and how that can help, and the research that's come out on that. And then I've got before that, I've got a conference in Albury, New South Wales, so in Australia, just outside of Sydney, and that'll be sort of a how-to carnivore conference sort of thing. So it's all about sort of carnivore and regenerative agriculture and farming, and how this makes sense from a personal perspective and an environmental perspective as well. And and that's pretty much the main things going on now, just preparing for those conferences.
Man, you got a full schedule. Everybody got full schedules, man. It's getting good though, so it's going to be interesting. I watched all 3 hours of your live last night while I was trying to get stuff going. All 3 hours, like, man, I'm always learning stuff, but so it's good. It's good. Well, I should say, I didn't watch it. I listened to it last night. I'm always learning good stuff though, so jumping in on all you guys when I can and back and forth. So
hey, Shawn,
what's up, buddy?
Before you get way into the questions, my wife, she pretty much just told me that I have to make sure her question gets answered because she's in the chat right now, and I better listen to her. She said to ask all of y'all, if it was your last meal, what would you want to eat for your last meal? So I better ask that question.
Cassie, you can go first, I guess.
If it's my last meal, I'm going to go for a Chicago style deep dish pizza. That's the way there. That's all there is to that. Nothing else. I'm fine with that.
Chafee, what you got?
Yeah, well, it's just be the same thing, man. It's a big ass steak. Like, I don't like, that's the only thing I want to eat anyway. I remember when I was first getting into this, sort of like 6 months into it, I remember talking to my dad. And I just said to him, it's like, it just feels like my birthday every single day, because, on your birthday, you get the meal that you want. It's like just this, there's no guilt, no anything. You just like whatever you want. It's your birthday. It's your day. And every time I wanted just a massive, massive steak, and just to fill up and just eat my fill of just amazing steak. That's what I wanted every single time. And growing up, my mom would always do that for me. It would make a massive steak for me. And, maybe I'd have some like prawns or something else. But I remember I would sort of have some of the other stuff. It was always meat. I never wanted any vegetables or any garbage like that. But it was like other meat dishes. And then I remember just thinking, I was like, I just wanted to just eat the meat. Like, why, just the steak. Like, why did I even have any of those prawns? Like, I just wanted just the steak was so good. And so now every single day is a massive steak cooked to perfection. And it's just every day, it feels like my birthday. I just eat, a massive amount of beef until I'm not hungry anymore. And I was just like, that's great. So it'd be the same thing. The only thing I want to eat anyway is just steak. So my last meal would be the same as, every meal, just big ass steak until I'm done.
What you got, Dave? What would you have if it was your last meal, my friend?
I think I would also just go for the steak. The only thing I would change up is if it was my last meal, I'd add red wine in there as well, I think.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe some heroin,
Yeah. How about you, Kip?
Well, y'all are much better than me, I guess, because if I knew it was my last meal, that would pretty much mean that I knew I was going to die anyway. So if I was going to die anyway, I'd be like, oh, the heck with it. And I'd still have steak, and I'd probably have some shrimp with it, but then I'd probably load up on some mac and cheese and some cheesecake because I knew I was going to die anyway. What about you, Shawn?
Man, listen, I've been sitting over here trying to think, like, if I knew it was my last meal, I probably, honest to God, I probably still would have a steak, but I would probably throw in, for some reason, this whole week, I have wanted some jalapenos with bacon wrapped around it and sausage in the middle. I don't know why, but like this whole week, that's what my mind has been thinking about that. So I may go ahead and have some of those. And Man, I don't know. There's been a Reese's peanut butter cup in our refrigerator for like 6 months that I've been opening the door, seeing it, getting what I get out of there and closing it because my wife started eating carnivore and it was hers, and she always puts her stuff in the refrigerator, and we just never got rid of it. It just taunts everybody when they open the door in the house now, the refrigerator door. I would take a big bite of it. I don't know. I haven't been tempted to, just look at it since then, but nevertheless, I would just go ahead and eat at least half of her thing. But who knows? I don't know.
I think that I think if we're doing this as a fantasy thing, like if you were going to die in your last meal or whatever, I'd mammoth. I'd want to eat a mammoth. I want to have like a big mammoth steak, and if we hadn't genetically cloned them or whatever, maybe like an elephant that had died of natural causes at a zoo or something like that, that didn't have to poach it or whatever, or but yeah, if we're talking fantasies, then mammoth, like a full rack of Fred Flintstone dinosaur ribs like on the side of the car. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
We could just have a time machine in that fantasy. That's
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is I mean, this is obviously our ancestors, for God knows how many years, over 1 million years, eating mammoth, probably 2 million years or so eating mammoth. So, that was the human food, was big old mammoth. There was, some of these things get caught in glaciers and ice flows and things like that, and perfectly preserve them. They're just all furry and everything like that. And so they thaw these things out, and but then they'll take them apart, and you'll get the skeletons and do all these sorts of things, which I think is, I don't know, a bit of a waste. Maybe, I don't know how preserved they are, but you think that maybe they could sort of keep it a bit more whole. But my great uncle was at a sort of a charity dinner fundraiser, those things that are just, and this was like back in the 80s, it was like $10,000 a plate. So it was just like, that was real money. But they actually got one of these mammoths, and they actually like cut it up, and they cut it up. So he had a big old mammoth steak, and 10, 12,000 years old, but he had a mammoth. He said it was very bland at that point. It was just 20,000 years of freezer burn, is going to do that too. It's not going to have much flavor left. So, it didn't really taste like anything, but it's kind of cool anyway. And so anyway, a fresh mammoth, that would be my goal.
That'd be interesting. That'd be awesome. So we'll ask a few questions. What do you guys think about garlic, chilies, onions? I guess I could put the question up. We have that capability.
We have the technology.
Any benefits, right? I love them. And what do you guys think? Dave, what do you think about chilies, garlic, onions, stuff like that?
I like them, but since I've been carnivore, I've kind of I don't have any. I no longer have any attachment to them or feeling for them, so I just don't add them in. I don't feel like I need to season food or anything at all. Cassie, how about you?
Well, I love all of the above, and I'm actually so glad that this question was asked, and I'm very curious to know Dr. Chafee's answer on this. I've not seen anything, with the exception of course, GMO grown garlic, but I've not seen anything, any negative info on garlic. So I would like to know your thoughts on that. Garlic.
Well, I mean, there's tons of different things. Anytime you have that strong flavor, if you like bit into like an onion, like a normal onion, some of these things are bred to be sweeter, or a garlic clove, start chewing on these things, you're going to get a massive hit of, flavor in your mouth. You're going to rebel, right? And that's a bit of a warning. There's something in there that your tongue and your brain are responding to, saying, hey, no, there's something here that you don't want. There's going to be good things as well, but there are going to be bad other things. I love the taste of garlic, used to anyway. Now when you get away from all of these different flavors, you start picking up much more of the subtleties of meat, I've found. And so just like the flavor of meat just so much better. And so I don't want all those other flavors dampening out or covering up the taste of meat. But I have noticed that when some garlic has gotten in, or onions and things like that. And not even much. Like my mom brought home like a chicken. It was like a steamed chicken from a Chinese food restaurant once, and you could just tell it was like sort of steamed with like garlic in the mix, right? And so it was just sort of this hint of garlic. There was no actual visible garlic on it. And I sort of said, I was like, yeah, was this cooked with something? She was like, oh no, it's just steamed or whatever. But there's clearly some garlic in it. Within 20 minutes, I sort of felt a bit crap. I had a bit of brain fog. My nose was sort of stuffed up. It just felt a bit off. And I felt that way for another sort of hour or so. And that was just with like, a bit of steamed garlic in there. So at least for me, I seem to, it's very subtle, right? So it's something, if you weren't really looking out for it, you probably wouldn't notice it. But I was, and I noticed the difference. And so there are going to be things in there. And same with onions as well. Anytime you have that very strong flavor, that's something in there that your body's warning you against.
Interesting.
I mean, having these things. I was just going to say, having these things, in very small amounts to sort of help with the flavor, just to sort of get you on board, especially coming from such extremely bad, eating as like a standard diet or whatever, or, very standard diet is plant-based, but other plant-based diets that aren't processed foods, and just getting a lot more nutrition from meat and moving towards that direction, having some spice, having some seasonings. If that's what you need to do to sort of transition, or else you're just like, I'm just not going to do this, go for it. Like the contrast is still going to be so much better than anything else you were doing before. I've just been on the very sharp edge of this for, a number of years now. So I know how I feel. I can feel different on, grass finished beef versus grain finished beef versus, pasture raised pork versus, just normal, soy corn fed, pork, things like that. Like I feel different with different kinds of meats now. So I can notice that difference. And so for me, adding in a bit of garlic, it's like, that's nothing I want anything to do with. But the contrast between, a standard diet or, a plant-based diet and a very heavy meat-based diet with a bit of seasoning, like, you're still going to improve dramatically. At some point, if you want to try coming off of that and just try meat and water with no seasonings, I think that you will find that it's even better, that you feel even better. But, it's already, a huge improvement, eating meat with whatever seasonings you use.
Kit, what you got, man? How you feel about them?
Well, onions can just cease to exist because I don't like onions. But chilies, I like them, but I don't eat them on my carnivore diet, basically. But I haven't gone full beast mode like Dr. Chafee, so I still have like garlic powder. Like whenever I mix up my rub for my like barbecue and stuff, I'll put like garlic powder in it, and I have black pepper. I just got some white pepper because a lot of people kept mentioning that. And so I'm going to give that a try and see how that goes, because I've heard that it's lower in oxalates or whatever. So I'm going to try the white pepper and see how that goes. But that kind of made me think of a question that, because I did a video the other day and I told everybody that I had went out with family to a Mexican restaurant and I had got some chopped meat. It had like chicken and steak in it. And I told them no veggies, but when it came out, it had mushrooms in it. And I was like, oh crap, it's got mushrooms in it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just have some mushrooms. And I thought that it would like make me feel terrible the next day, but I felt fine. But I wanted to get Chafee's opinion on mushrooms, because I hear in my comments, people were going back and forth. Some people were saying it's kind of like a meat, or it's not a veggie, or I heard both sides of the argument. So I kind of wanted to get his advice on that. On mushrooms.
Just mushrooms in general are probably less good than a lot of other veggies. And they're technically correct. It's not a vegetable, it's a fungus. So technically they were not lying to you. So, but like mushrooms are one that, when I was taking cancer biology, that was one of the highest in plant toxins and carcinogens. And that was something that that Professor Bruce Ames showed when he was looking at different pesticides, in particular alar in the 1980s. When we published in 1989, he looked at mushrooms, table mushrooms, and he looked at the comparison between the amount of pesticides would be in the food versus serving of mushrooms, and he found that the mushrooms were 500 times more likely to cause cancer than the pesticides alar. So, what is something that's carcinogenic, right? It doesn't just do nothing until all of a sudden you have cancer, right? It's causing a disruption in your metabolism. It's damaging your mitochondria. It's causing some sort of metabolic stress and disruption to your body at a cellular and macrocellular level, at a tissue level as well. So, for 20 years, 30 years before this ever turns into cancer, if it ever does, which it doesn't have to turn into cancer, it's causing damage, it's causing inflammation, it's causing a disruption. So, is it going to like hurt you, kill you overnight? No, not necessarily, but you could feel a bit off. I mean, when other things sort of slip in, I'll feel a bit off. But if it's just that one thing in isolation, you don't necessarily feel completely wretched. If you just might feel just subtly a bit off or a bit different. But if you keep doing it, it's going to build up. Right. It's going to keep building up and building up. Some things really just make me feel awful. Any sort of grain or legume or bean, rice or anything like that like mixes in even a very small amount, I will be in like crazy pain. My back will hurt. It will be like in stabbing pain for 4 days. And, and that's just something that I've noticed. So, other things are going to hit you differently, but, you have to think about mushrooms and sort of the way I presented this in other talks was, there's 600,000 different kinds of fungus in the world. There's 10,000 different kinds of mushrooms. How many of those don't kill you on the spot or give you a religious experience, right? There's not many. So, there's a few of these things that we consider edible and that don't give us that acute phase reaction that give you like hallucinations or just kill you. And we think that, somehow because they don't give you such an extreme reaction, that they are not only safe but good for you, which I think is it's a gamble. You're rolling the dice with that. The WHO has a whole big article on these mushroom-based toxins, these toxic mushrooms and things like that. And they talk about how you have to be obviously you have to be very careful if you're picking mushrooms in the wild. You have to know exactly which ones, because some of these things look nearly identical, and one will kill you and the other won't. So it's very, very, very important what that difference is if you're out there picking these things. But they were very clear that there's quite a lot of toxins and things like that in these mushrooms, which is technically correct. But having some mushrooms every now and then on accident is if it doesn't have a huge reaction to you, then that's great. I mean, I'm not going to try it out myself to see, because I don't care to, but that's information that's not that's not useful to me, because I'm not going to be eating these things anyway. But I'm glad that it didn't make you feel like garbage. Sometimes people, I mean, I don't know what else you were eating and how closely you were watching this, or if you're waiting for the next day, because sometimes it could be something in the next sort of 20-30 minutes you just feel maybe a bit off, maybe a bit more brain fog, stuffy nose, itchy face, something like that, or just feel a bit different. And it can be very subtle, and some people just don't notice that. But if you think about it and say, okay, well, this came in, I'm going to see how I feel. This is how I feel right now. Let's see how it goes forward from here. Sometimes you notice that, or other times it's very obvious. Like when I drank 1 cup of coffee after working out like an insane amount, within 20 minutes I was stiff and sore in my legs and back, when I hadn't been 20 minutes earlier, which is very strange. And so, sometimes it's a bit more obvious, and other times it's subtle. But for me, it's just avoid it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I will have garlic, like some of the ground up garlic, like spice on a steak. I used to use, when I first started eating like this, I would occasionally put some minced garlic on there. I used pepper for a long time after I started, like black pepper, but after a couple of 4 or 5 months, I started getting really bad joint pain, and I had not changed anything. I hadn't eaten off plan. I couldn't figure out what in the world it was. And come to find out, it was the pepper. When I cut the black pepper out, my joint pain went away again. Now I'd suffered from gout, and I'd had no issues with gout, and it wasn't the same as like a gout flare up. But whenever I cut the black pepper out completely, the joint pain went, stiffness and it aches went away again. So I was like, well, there you go. So.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to get rid of everything before you start noticing some of these subtle things, because you can have this sort of bit, if you're having, different things on your rubs and your thises and your that, sometimes you just kind of have a little background noise. And then, so maybe just the subtle difference with mushrooms aren't going to make much of a difference. But if you get rid of everything, then maybe you can notice those things, but not necessarily. I mean, I just, I pay close attention to those things. But yeah, that's something to think about as well. If you get down to just absolutely no seasonings, anything, you might feel like even that much better. You go, oh, okay, actually there is a difference there, but you may not be seeing it because it's a bit too subtle at the moment.
That's kind of what I chalked it up to, was that, my system, whenever I was loading my system down with all that toxicity for so long, the black pepper was just one more thing on top of all the other junk that I was putting in my system. And once my system started detoxing and cleaning it out, then it did get affected by the black pepper a lot more. So, I'm getting behind on these super chats. I better jump in on them. Aaliyah, thanks for the super chat. Helping Carry at Homestead Howell raise funds for the doc. We raised almost $400 in the live stream on Monday. I'm selling some art of my mom's. All proceeds will go to the project. Please check out my community tab for more info. That's awesome. It's going to be a great project, and thank you for doing that. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that as well. You guys go check out Aaliyah's channel, check out the project and the community tab. That'd be great.
Nice.
Awesome. Let's see. We got there's so many. I get carried away, man. Get the question learning and talking and get behind. So Homesick Buckeye, what's up, fam? Ask Doc C how he got those muscles in his teeth. I need to get one of those shirts, the Body by Beef. I got the bacon one, but I got to get the beef one, man.
Yeah.
I don't have that one yet. I got to wear that around. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Homesick Buckeye. Oh, let's see. Brain games. Aside from satiety, what does high fat give you that just beef doesn't? Why the emphasis on high fat? Oh man, I was about to go in. Dave, what you got, man? Come on. Come with. I ain't heard you.
So, why the emphasis on high fat? I mean, high fat's satiating, I guess, and our brains are made up so much of saturated fat. I guess you're giving your brain nutrition by having high fat, I guess. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I was just going to say the same thing, because for me, I mean, the beauty of the carnivore diet in general is like it's so different from a lot of other diets, because like you can actually eat until you're comfortably stuffed or until you hit satiety. But if I was to just eat like lean meats, like super lean cuts of beef, or like boneless, skinless chicken breast or whatever, even if I'm eating a bunch of it, I'm constantly going to get hungry more on a regular basis and feel like I'm starving myself. So, I mean, you say it like satiety is just like a little thing. Like the satiety for me is huge, and that helps me to not crave all the other things and want to go out and eat little Debbie cakes and stuff. Anybody else?
Not the little Debbies.
Well, I was just going to say, just because fat is an essential nutrient. It's not just an energy source, a calorie source. It's something that your body needs. You need these certain fatty acids. You need a certain amount of dietary cholesterol, and you need all the fat soluble vitamins that come with it. So it's not just like, oh, we don't have this fat because it has calories and things like that. That's not how you should think about it. This is we're talking about complete nutrition. So when people say, oh, you need a balanced diet, okay, balance of what? Balance of things you actually need. So a balanced diet for humans is fatty meat. You need the fat with the lean. And that is complete nutrition. So that will get all of the nutrients that you need. That tends to be around 1 gram of fat per 1 gram of protein. About that ends up being about 70 calories per 100 calories. So 70% calories from fat and 30 from protein. About I don't think calories are a good metric because it's insane. We don't burn these things in our bodies. But think about gram for gram, a gram of fat per gram of protein. That tends to be the right amounts for most people. But you need enough fat and you need enough protein, and that tends to be a lot more fat than people are used to getting. Certainly, because we've been told to avoid fat our entire life, and that is absolutely incorrect.
Well, and you said aside from satiety, but like fat, every cell in your body needs fat to reproduce itself. So, it's not just energy, but I guess it's every cell in your body is made up of it. Everything that to continue life. So, I agree.
Yeah. Well, all your hormones, and and why is it satiating, right? It's because your body is recognizing and getting the nutrients that it wants. Like that's what hunger is. You want nutrients. Your body needs building blocks of materials, vitamins, minerals, macronutrients, micronutrients. And when you satisfy your body's desire for those macro and micronutrients, you will be satiated if you're not disrupting your signals. So if you're eating sugar and with glucose, you're going to raise your insulin. Insulin's going to drop your blood sugar. You're going to feel like crap. You need to go eat more because you can't raise your blood sugar back up to a normal level. It's also going to block leptin, which is a satiety hormone secreted from your fat cells. Fructose also does this. Independently, it blocks leptin and it upregulates ghrelin, which is sort of the hunger hormone that's secreted from your stomach when it's empty. And so it sends off some ghrelin. So that will make you eat pathologically. That will make you eat past your body's actual needs and demands for food and energy. But if you're only eating meat and you're eating fatty meat, then when your body is satisfied with the amount of nutrients that are coming in, that's when you are satiated. That's what satiety is your body is satisfied with the amount of nutrients that are coming in. It's not from stretch receptors in your stomach. That's something that's been pushed around since the 80s. That is wrong. We know now that there are receptors in your stomach that track up directly to your brain through your vagus nerve that actually track the macros and micros and can see how much protein's in there, see how much fatty acids are in there, see how much vitamins and minerals and things like that. And that goes to your brain and goes, yep, that's enough. And that's why you stop eating, you stop being hungry long before that ever gets absorbed. So you're eating this stuff, it's in your stomach, it's just sitting in your stomach. So it's not in your body yet, and your body is still deficient in certain nutrients, but your body knows that they're coming down the pipeline. And so it says, okay, you can stop now. And so that's what satiety is. It means your body has gotten the nutrients it wants, and that's what fat is. Fat is a nutrient. It's an essential nutrient. Well, it's a body of essential nutrients that you need. And so you just need to get enough fat because it's good for you.
Well, I mean, that point can't be emphasized enough. There's a lot to be said about contentment because, what is ever content? There's always more to be had, more to be gained. So whenever your body is content, that's definitely a good thing. Your body's not sending signals for no reason. Let's see here. Thank you for the super chat, guys. Oh, yeah, and I was going to mention Larry talking about it storming right now. It's good to see you, Larry. Hope you get to feeling better, buddy. Sarah, thank you for the super chat. Plants protect babies. My pigs who eat every plant have not touched the tomatoes and squash growing in their pasture. Squash plant has 2 big squash growing. Pigs eat all squash tomatoes given normally. Awesome. Thank you for the super chat, Miss Sarah. Appreciate that. Let's see. I feel like I missed something because I jumped ahead a while ago. Oh, thank you guys for the super chat. Peter, thanks, Thomas. Peter Atea says that we can only absorb a certain amount of protein per meal. Do you guys agree with this? And thanks. Kit, what you got, man? What do you think about how much protein do you normally eat in one sitting? Do you know?
Well, I don't do the calculations or whatever, but I probably eat about 2 meals a day, and it's about a pound to a pound and a quarter per meal. So, and it's fatty meat like ribeyes or hamburgers. So Chafee might know that answer, or one of y'all might know the answer to that question.
I got you. What about you, Cassie? You know how much protein you eat?
I don't. I don't
track?
count anything. And, I'll tell you what, I'm sitting here listening to Dr. Chafee and all these mitochondria, macros, micros, and all that. I think I'm going to have to start paying better attention to my diet.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I would disagree with that. I mean, that's something that certainly has been bandied around. I don't know what Dr. Atea is referring to, if there's a reference or a study or something like that he's referring to when he makes that. And obviously, we don't know exactly the context, but just taking that on its face, I would not agree with that. And without any sort of study or anything like that, because I don't think they work better than just observing reality. But predators in the wild, they eat infrequently, like lions may eat once a week, right? And they need to meet all of their protein and fat absorption demands in that one go. So they're going to gorge themselves and fill up on several pounds, sometimes, over 10 pounds, dozens of pounds of meat. And if they're only absorbing 40 grams of protein, like they're dead. Like that's not it. It's just not going to happen, so that doesn't work. And that doesn't work for, a lot of other, human populations around the world who absolutely don't eat 16 times a day and, and space out their protein meals. Right. So you need to have to sort of explain, the largest contiguous empire that's ever existed, which would be, the Mongol Empire, formed by Genghis Khan and his descendants. They were carnivore. They ate horse meat, drank horse blood, and fermented mare's milk. And you read books about these guys. It's very interesting histories. Absolutely, just amazing person and people. And they would routinely, ravage the countryside for 5 days in a row, and then eat 10 pounds of horse meat in one go, and then go do it again. And these guys were much taller, stronger, and healthier than everyone they were fighting against, which is one of the reasons why they were so successful, is that they had very well-fed, healthy, big, strong warriors, where they were fighting against, peasant soldiers eating gruel and things like that. But that's one of the advantages of them as an army, is they didn't have to stop and cook 5 times a day or 3 times a day, to not exaggerate. And they just go, and they were just marching and riding. They were just going. They didn't need all these cook fires to cook all this whatever for all their armies. They just went. So other armies had no idea where these guys were, when they were going to come up. They just came out, bam, just hit in the night, because they couldn't track a massive army with 50,000 people, and 5,000 campfires, because they didn't use fires. They didn't need to cook. They just went, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're on you. And they knew exactly where the opposing armies were, because they did have to cook. So they would go days without eating. Now you're doing that, and you eat 500 grams of protein. God knows how many grams of protein are in 10 pounds of horse meat, but it's a lot. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein. If you're only getting 40 out of that, you're dead. You're not going to have the necessary amino acids to sustain your life, right? And so I just that doesn't really. I don't need a study past that. I can just observe reality, because a study is only good at trying to describe what's happening in real life. But if you can look in real life and see what's happening, You don't need a study. You can have a study that says that, things fall upwards. Okay, but I can see that they fall down. So I really don't care what your study says, because I'm seeing the exact opposite in real life. And and real life trumps any study.
Well,
can I just jump in with something to follow up on that?
Absolutely.
And I'm interested to hear your feedback on this as well. So my comment's not directly about Peter Attia, but this kind of thing about measuring stuff, or you can't have too much of that, or you can't have too much of this. I'm getting more and more skeptical of that kind of advice, because whenever you have to think about your eating, that's an opportunity for someone to make money. And again, I'm not saying that about Peter Attia, but I don't think we would be the only species where we have to pay someone else to manage our eating. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said. Your body, it's hard to overeat protein, and I've seen like what you just mentioned as well. And I just want to throw this in there before I forget, because if I don't, my mind will go. But as far as like the protein, when your body's had enough protein, you're not going to overeat protein for very long. I know there's exceptions to the rule. I know there's always those people who can eat all the protein in the world, and somebody's going to be in the comments telling me in a minute. But like, it's hard for me, I guess I should say, it's hard for me to overeat protein for very long. It's also hard for my body to overeat fat, because I'm spending the rest of my day in the bathroom. So my body is extremely well at taking what I need from it and signaling me when it wants more. So it's, to answer your question, maybe your body can only use so much at one time. Maybe it's not, as he just described. You can hold on to it in some way, shape, or form in storage and use it later, or use it all, whatever the case may be. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I know that, I've been asked that question even today by a lady in a group, mentioning she doesn't know about her amounts, how much she's eating, if it's the correct amount. I would say, obviously to her, how do you feel? Are you wanting more? Are you tired, lethargic all the time? Are you spending all day in the bathroom? Those are the things I would be looking at, and not worrying about an issue that's a non-issue. Dr. Chafee, did you want to respond to what Dave was saying as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you should be able to eat intuitively. If you can eat things that disrupt your satiety signals, as I mentioned earlier, with insulin and fructose. But if you're not doing that, you should be able to eat intuitively. You shouldn't have to have a health coach telling you what to do. No other animal in the wild has any health coach. No humans have historically had health coaches up until very, very recently, and somehow we survived. And we're actually in much better health. I mean, you look at that, you just see that in the fossil record. Before the agricultural revolution, people were much taller, bigger brains, better teeth, better bone structure, no arthritis. And then directly after agriculture started becoming more prevalent, and there's a hard line in the archaeological fossil record. That all changed. People got shorter, their brains got smaller, teeth and jaws misformed and maldeveloped, and cavities, and poor wound healing, shorter femurs, evidence of tuberculosis, throughout people's spines, all these sorts of things, arthritis, all these things started happening. And so, it's that, that's going away from eating properly. And so you can have problems. And at that point, you might need someone to say, hey, maybe you should sort of eat a bit differently. This is why there was an ancient Egyptian, they had agriculture early on. There's an old saying that says, half of what you eat feeds you, and half of what you eat feeds your doctor. Right. So they already knew that things that food was related to disease and to illness. Right. And so, but that was with the advent of agriculture. So, you shouldn't have to do that. Koalas don't pull out calculators to figure out their macros. Deer don't have health coaches like telling them which leaves will, make their ass look good. It just doesn't work like that. They eat what tastes good, what's intuitive for them to eat. And so, that you're eating something incorrect if you need to sort of map things out and calculate things. If you are eating what we are biologically designed to eat and what is optimal for us, then it should be intuitive. And that's what most people will find. You know, as Shawn was saying, it's very hard to overeat protein or really anything when you're eating properly, because because it's a negative feedback loop, right? So like cocaine or sugar, it's positive feedback. The more you do, the more you want to do, right? But with actual proper nutrition, you get negative feedback. So, you know, when you're eating, it tastes amazing. And the more you eat, it actually has negative feedback. So it's making it taste less good and less good and less good until finally it doesn't taste good at all. And if you keep eating it, it starts tasting bad. And so I have met people that have forced themselves because they're like, this is how much I made, this is how much I'm going to eat. And they get halfway through and they say it takes them 2 hours to finish the rest of the meal, and they hate it and it's horrible and it's just really difficult. And I explained to them, like, well, no, you were finished 2 hours ago, because that was your body telling you in very clear terms, you're done. We don't need any more. Stop eating. Right. So you can force yourself, but you have to force yourself. It's very difficult. Like if you're eating the right things, just eating intuitively, eating what tastes good will get you where you want to be. And so so that's another sort of physiological indicator that you can absolutely absorb more protein. And in fact, you can. I mean, we wouldn't be here. I mean, I've been eating sort of one meal a day most days for a very long time. And if I'm only getting 40 grams of protein, I'm not able to build and maintain, you know, musculature and just a healthy body. It just doesn't work like that. You absolutely don't need to spread out your protein. What carnivore, I should say, needs to do that. I mean, some are eating like a bunch of fish as they go, but the big predators are getting like one big kill a week sometimes, or maybe even, you know, less often than that. And, and they're getting everything that they need.
Every time I hear that, I think the honey badger don't give a, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I think of every time. I'm like, you know, don't make it, you know, Larry calls it the wall of doom. When you hit that wall of doom, for those of you that are about a month into eating this way, it's your first time trying it, and you feel like you can't stand to look at another piece of meat. You have that food aversion, you know, it's your body saying, look, you don't need to eat 3 and 4 and 5 times a day anymore. You can eat, you know, 2 or 3 times, or maybe 2 times, or maybe even at some point go to 1 time a day. You know, you're not going to eat as much eating this way as you were eating the standard American diet, because you're not burning it the same way. You're not burning it as fast. It takes a little bit of time to get there, typically, but you will get there. And that's a lot of what it is. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Andrea, can you all discuss hypoglycemia on carnivore and what to do about it? Not on any medications. What you got? Cassie, you got something for that?
You know,
low blood
I'm
sugar.
not a medical professional here. I'm just
on now.
Okay. I've never experienced low blood sugar or anything like that, at least not to my knowledge. So I don't have anything on that. I'm so sorry. I can't answer that, but I do know there's a doctor in the room who can absolutely answer that question.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I would just say that hypoglycemia, you know, symptomatic hypoglycemia on a carnivore diet is exceptionally rare. I really haven't come across anybody who's actually had that. You know, you might check your blood sugar and it might be low, but you feel fine. And that's because your brain and body are running on ketones. And that's what your brain and body want to do anyway. There was a study, very, very unethical study, but this was before ethics boards and things like that back in the 40s or 50s, where they were studying ketosis, and they're studying people, having a high level of ketones. And they're like, hey, does this work if you don't have glucose, right? And so they were lowering people. They were keeping their ketones high, but lowering their blood sugar. And they got their blood sugar down to the point that you would normally be in a coma. And people were just fine. They're sitting up, talking, conversing. They're like, how are you guys feeling? Yeah, fine. Yeah. Anything wrong? Anything? No. No, nothing wrong. And they had basically next to no, blood glucose. So, as long as you have ketones, you should be fine. Now, if you're symptomatic and you're feeling crappy and you're feeling low and you don't have energy, you feel tired and your blood sugar is low, I'd wonder what your ketones are. You might not be having enough ketones. So maybe something that you're eating is disrupting that. Also, I'm sort of wondering why you're checking your blood sugar on a carnivore diet if you're not on medications. If you're not diabetic and you don't need to check your blood sugar, is there a reason that you're checking your blood sugar? If it's just out of interest sake, you probably don't need to do that. You probably don't need to worry yourself about what your blood sugar is doing, unless you don't feel well. If you're unwell, fine. But the other thing is that there are some things that contain carbs, and we can be doing carnivore, and carnivore means different things to different people. I mean, just everyone here eats a slightly different complement of things. Some people use a bit of seasonings or spices. I do none at all. It's just meat, just water. I mean, if some spices slip in or something like that, I'm not gonna be overly concerned about it if it's not that much and very infrequently. But I don't choose to put any spices on anything anyway. It'd be like if I was out or something, or get like some biltong or like beef sticks or something like that, which are great. And but there are things that have carbs. So if you're having some things even low carbs, people say, oh well, it's okay up to like 20 grams or 50 grams. No, it's not really. Like, low carb is worse than no carb or even higher carb, because you're going to get a bit of carbohydrates. It's going to raise your insulin. You're going to drop your blood sugar and you're going to feel like crap. And you're not going to be pulling in enough carbohydrates to like make you feel better and maintain your energy. But you're also going to have enough insulin to suppress your body's ability to make more carbohydrates and to make blood sugar and ketones, right? So you're going to feel pretty crappy. So health-wise, long term, yeah, it's not good to have more blood sugar. But I'm just saying, like, from a feeling-wise, having energy that day, low amount of blood sugar is going to make you feel worse than low carb is going to make you feel worse than if you had no carbs, right? And so, some people, still drink milk. And I've spoken to some people that say, oh, they feel really bad and their blood sugar drops and they're just sleepy all during the day. And we're just sort of trying to troubleshoot all the different things. And it's like, do they have dairy? Do they drink milk? And they're like, oh yeah, they do. They'll drink like a few glasses of milk a day. And we're like, okay, we'll try cutting out the milk. They did. It was gone. That was it. And so that was it. There was enough carbs, in the milk that suppressed their body's ability to make ketones and blood sugar. And so they get these dips and they'd feel pretty wretched. So, if you're not symptomatic and your blood sugar is low, don't worry about it, right? Because your ketones work. I have no idea what my blood sugar is. I don't care, right? I have no idea what my ketones are. I don't care because I feel good. So my body's doing what it's supposed to do. And if you are symptomatic and you're not feeling great and your ketones are low and your glucose is low, you need to, something's going in your body that is disrupting that. Even artificial sweeteners, even though they don't have carbohydrates in them, they can cause reactive hypoglycemia because they cause this sweet sensation. Your brain says that's sugar, kick out some insulin, and you're going to drop your blood sugar and suppress your mobilization from your fat and your ketones, gluconeogenesis, and raising glucagon and things like that. And you're going to get low ketones, low blood sugar, and you're going to feel worse, and so that's what I would say. If you're asymptomatic, don't worry about it. If you're eating, and if you are symptomatic with it, then you need to find out what you're eating, and you need to just go down to just meat, just water, and absolutely nothing else.
Well, and also being on the truck, when we would go to run a call for hypoglycemia like that, if even on the standard American diet, if your blood sugar is not lower than 50, you're probably not going to get, and be symptomatic, you're not getting treated for it. That's standard operation. The standard orders would dictate that to us. So looking and seeing what that is. And a lot of times the folks, after we would treat them, we'd say, listen, make sure to eat something, because they would say, we'd give them some D5 or something, D10 or whatever, and get their blood sugar up. And then we make sure, we're going to pump you full of this sugar water, but make sure and eat something, because if you don't, we'll be back out here in an hour, because this stuff's going to burn right through you. It's not going to stabilize you for very long. You need to eat something. So, I think you hit on something with it. If it's curiosity's sake, it's a stressor you don't need. But thanks for the super chat. Carnivore today, thank you for the super chat. What is the number one unexpected benefit from following a carnivore diet that you didn't anticipate initially? Good question. Dave, what you think? What did you not anticipate that you found out to be a benefit?
I didn't anticipate the lack of arthritis. So the lack of joint pain has been probably the number one thing, because that just follows you around everywhere. It's always in the back of your mind. That pain, that dullness, even if you're sitting down, is always there. So that's been the number one benefit from me. How about you, Kip?
Well, I kind of expected that, because I'd done a little research on carnivore before I started the whole process, which I think everyone should research it a little bit before they start anything that you're doing. But so I was expecting that my shoulder pain might get a little bit better, but it did get better. But one thing that happened that was totally unexpected was, and I pick with people on my channel because I had a hemorrhoid that I named him Harry. And the hemorrhoid has pretty much gotten so much better just because the diet. And I didn't notice it at first, but it started getting better. And then another thing that has been getting better is I just noticed this like a week or two ago, that now I can sleep on all sides. And I don't know why. Like before, I would only sleep on my stomach. But now I can sleep on my side, I can sleep on my back, and more often than not, I end up sleeping on my back now, and I wasn't able to do that until recently.
Cassie?
Nice.
I have a laundry list, but I'm just going to whittle it down to one. This was very unexpected. So I was in a car accident about 25 years ago, and I had a herniated disc. I ended up going with surgery. I was young and dumb, so I listened to everything the doctors told me. And I was experiencing back pain on our couch. I couldn't sit down without being in excruciating pain while getting up, whether I sat there or laid down. I have virtually no back pain, none whatsoever. And for the last 2.5 decades, it's been something that has been really bothering me. And ever since carnivore, that was very unexpected for me. I didn't anticipate that. So that was a very cool benefit.
Dr. Chafee.
Well, I mean, I just, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that, plants were trying to kill me, and I just want to get rid of them. So a lot of it was a big surprise to me, and I was just pretty amazed. But I mean, just in general, I just, just aging backwards. I felt at 38 like I did when I was 22, and playing sports all the time. I just felt absolutely amazing, and my body started working like it did when I was 22, which was better than when I was 25, 26. And I had gone back to sort of eating a more standard diet, even though it was whole foods and just some, vegetables and, maybe some, whole grain pasta and things like that occasionally. But, and brain fog, that was gone. I did not know what the hell that was for years. I didn't know. I woke up fine. I would sleep, a good amount. I'd wake up naturally without an alarm clock. I'd feel good. And then like some point throughout the day, all of a sudden I was just brain fog. I just couldn't think. I felt like I'm tired all the time. I was like, what in God's name is going on? For years that was happening. And I just could not figure out what the hell it was. Gone, snap, gone. And my asthma was gone. My red eyes, I had red eyes for years. It was just constantly, everyone was just saying, I was like, oh, you high or something? Like, no, I'm not. Thanks, asshole. And like, I didn't know what it was. It was just allergies or something like that. But I just had like beet red eyes all the time. It was really annoying. So I would always use eye drops. Those 2 weeks dropping vegetables, those terrible things were gone as well. So I just, they made all these little subtle things that you didn't even know were a problem, you know, or a problem that you could fix, they just go away. And I thought that was amazing. For Dave, I, you know, just going to say the one thing that you know, surprised me most about, you know, your recovery was the recovery of your neurological symptoms. You know, that was something that, you know, when you sort of said, hope you don't mind, you know, you did say this in our conversation that,
No, sure,
you know,
no
you had a stroke. Yeah, had a stroke 30 years ago and had some right-sided weakness and, you know, difficulty going up and down stairs in particular. And then, you know, I had done keto as well. And there are studies showing that ketogenic diets help with brain trauma and recovering from, you know, TBIs and things like that. And so that's great, you know, because you're getting ketones into your brain, they can help regrow the brain. But you had done keto for a while and that didn't seem to, you know, fix the problem. But then early on in Carnivore, all of a sudden you're walking better and your strength is returning after 30 years of a stroke. That to me was absolutely remarkable. And so, yeah, I think that was incredible for me to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, to follow up on that, that is definitely a big thing for me. I think the reason I rate the arthritis reversing as a higher, you know, high point for me is just because the stroke symptoms weren't causing the pain; they were just an inconvenience, you know. So yeah, but definitely going up the stairs now is a pleasure compared to it was a nightmare before.
Yeah.
Oh man, like, where are we going to start with this one? I'm going to jump in on this one because I've experienced a thing or two. So, you know, when I started, I was looking for hope. I had no earthly idea that I'd make the friends that you see sitting here on this panel tonight that I get to join on every Friday night. I had no idea that I would have a YouTube channel. I had no idea that it would repair a relationship that was falling apart between me and my wife, between me and my kids, between me and my friends. He was talking about God's name a while ago. I don't have to park way up by the door when I go to church on Sundays now. I can park out in the middle of the parking lot and walk all the way in and not be out of breath and sweating whenever I go to sit down. The mental clarity is amazing. Not just the things that you immediately see from eating a different way. It's all the things that progressively compound on top of changing the way you eat. You change one thing and it's like a concentric circle that multiplies and divides and conquers other areas of your life that you'll never be able to see until you step out and start doing it. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of things that I have experienced that I had no earthly idea, could not have made it up or even have a hard time even explaining it now. So for anybody that's out there who's been watching this and not commenting or investigating for a long time, what are you waiting for? Because I'm telling you now, maybe it doesn't work for you and you can come back in 6 months and tell me that, you know, I wasted your time and okay, cool, great. I'm betting it does though. I'm betting you're going to see benefits from it, you know, more than just the weight loss, more than just the anticipated things that you're going after. You're going to see some great things start changing. And once those things start changing, there's people hand over fist in the chat that can testify to exactly what I'm saying. Most of the people on this panel right here tonight can testify that there's going to be so many different things that are impacted in your life. It's going to change you in so many different ways that you're not ready for right now that, you know, it's definitely going to be worth it. I brought my book. I put a picture up not too long back about I wrote down a list of all the things that I regret about starting Carnivore. It's right here for anybody who had the question. So I just want to throw my do what now?
I said that could be a bestseller.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll get one of you guys to write the forward for me. Thank you guys for the super chat. Forts, it didn't put anything in the chat, but thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Terry, I had gastric sleeve 10 years ago. I find it hard to eat more than 20 grams of protein in one sitting. I get full fast. How do I get enough protein in? The one thing that I would say is, divide it up and eat smaller meals throughout the day, just from other people that I've talked to. Dr. Chafee, what would you say to somebody with that gastric sleeve? Because I've talked to a lot of people like that have a hard time with the uptake of nutrients after a gastric bypass, gastric sleeve, things like that.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So if you find it hard to eat more than 20 grams in one sitting, have more sittings, right? So you're going to need more than that. And so you just need to sort of split these things up, eat what's comfortable. Another thing to remember is that, if you're drinking water, that's going to take up physical space in your stomach. And so, fluids don't compress. So, I mean, that's a solid in your stomach, right? So that's going to fill up, and then you're putting meat in that as well. That's going to fill up more, and you'll just be like, absolutely not. That's the end of the road. So you in particular want to not drink any water, for as long before as you can. So up to 2 hours before, but at least an hour before you eat, you don't want to drink any water, and certainly not during the meal as well. If you have to have a bit of a sip to wash something down, then go for it. But I would really, really try to not have any water in or before meals, just so that every square inch of your stomach is just going to be there for meat, for fatty meat, and then you eat until you're comfortably full. And then you let things go, and then you do it again, and you just have to sort of do that a few times a day. And because it is important to get enough. Unfortunately, we didn't get to you before you had the gastric sleeve, but that's okay. You just have to, you're certainly going to get a much better result nutrition wise from eating meat than anything else, because you get a bunch of fiber. I mean, that's literally just dead weight. It's just a bunch of dead space. You're not getting any nutrition from it. You're not getting anything. It's just filling up the area that you need for food, and it's going to make it even more difficult for you to eat. So, either way, this is going to be better for you, and you just need to split it up throughout the day to make sure that you get enough.
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything to add on that?
I was going to say exactly what Dr. Chafee said, so he already covered that.
Next question.
Word. Stefano, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Been eating OMAD to allow for carbs. It's amazing what I'll do to allow carbs: potatoes, rice, bread, but I don't feel optimal. Back sore. Carnivore is the best. So simple but hard to do. Absolutely. I would agree. I mean, if it were, it's a mental thing, and I was reading something this week, and I wrote down a quote that I was going to share with you guys about such, how you refine the process will determine the progress. A habit can work for you or against you. I'm reading Atomic Habits, and, it's an older book, but it's got a lot of good stuff in it. And, it speaks so much to the issue, but, yeah, it's definitely hard, mentally, I feel like, but it's such an easy way of eating, and the benefits are out of this world. I would recommend everybody, if you're not involved in community, jump in a community like we have here on every Friday night. Just seeing the same folks, being able to do live, join together. That's how my journey started. When I came to Carnivore, found Dr. Barry, right into Carnivore Quest with Cassie and Larry there. So, I mean, that was like my first people, So, you never know how far it's going to go on, having a community, having people, getting to know people, learning new things, learning what to do, learning what not to do. I feel like it's definitely important. Anything else? Like, Kit, what you think about that, my friend? Community big for you?
Community? Oh, yeah. Community is definitely big for me. Honestly, I've told people that I'm not even sure I would have kept going in the beginning if I wouldn't have started the channel, because having the channel kind of helped to, because I kind of got connected with a lot of people and a lot of y'all by having the channel, and that kind of helped get me going. And kind of back to what their question was talking about, the more that I've done it, the more that I've been on this carnivore journey. I mean, initially it was hard. It was hard because a lot of those carbs can be, and sugar can be just like a drug. and I mean, it kind of, I mean, has that effect on you. So whenever I was quitting all that stuff and coming off of all of it, it was hard in the beginning, but over time it got easier and easier and easier, and now I don't even think about it. I mean, like, I can go weeks at a time without even thinking about like some little treat or something, but then sometimes I'll be at like some like gas station somewhere and I might see something and I'll be like, man, that probably tastes good, but then like I'll just be like, man, what are you even thinking? And then I'll just keep going. So that part of it's the mental game, but like if they just stick with it, for everybody that I know so far that has actually stayed strict with it, it gets easier over time.
Dave?
Yeah, I think community has been really big as well. Similar to what Kip said. Like, I wonder how easy it would have been to stick to, or how motivated I would have been to stick to it if I didn't find such a big and welcoming community. So it's definitely a big thing, I think. How about you, Cassie?
Well, one thing I've learned is for me, community is everything. If not for going carnivore, I don't know if I'd still be here or in the health that I am right now. But the community has kept me on track, and I've seen it go full circle. It's kept so many others on track as well. And that's one thing that we've learned as your typical food addict is the support is incredibly important, especially coming from somebody who has been in the same position. You know, I mean, I'm 50 years old and this is the healthiest I've been in my entire life. And I know, even with the threat of cancer returning, because I know how I am, I'm just that weak of a person that I don't think I would have lost the weight, maintained what I am, regaining my health, if not for community. It's highly important, and I don't think it's something that is highlighted enough, because it's just, you know, everybody's like, well, eat your meat and you'll be fine. And, you know, it's not that hard. It really can be that hard, because sometimes old habits, they die hard. But yeah, the community, we keep each other on track, and we keep each other going. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Actually, can I just add one point to expand on that? Apologies. So one thing that's also really good about this community is that we can be part of this bigger thing. And also there are doctors like Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berry, Dr. Avadia, all these people in the community that are active and like sharing knowledge that, you know, gives you the confidence to keep going. Whereas, like, if I think back to when I first did low carb 20 odd years ago, it was so easy to give up, because there's very few doctors out there that you could easily get in touch with saying, yeah, you're doing the right thing. This is how your body works. This is, you know, how you should be eating, or whatever, you know. So the pressure to give up is just so great. But when you get in this community, because we've got professionals also talking about, you know, the benefits, it's very helpful. Sorry to interrupt you, Shawn.
Oh, no, absolutely. I completely agree 100%. And, you know, it's a great time to bring that up. You know, I can't thank Chafee enough for agreeing to do this every Friday night when he can, and coming on and answering. You know, it seems, you know, may not seem like a lot, but it definitely is a lot. And I'm appreciative and thankful and happy to be able to do this. I look forward to this every week with you guys. And it's not just, you know, doing the channel, it's me growing and learning as well as strengthening the community. That's what the idea was behind it originally, you know. And so I feel like it definitely links us all together, and it helps to spread the word. And I feel like, you know, I appreciate you very much for doing it, man, because I feel like it helps us all, and it helps the community, and it, you know, it sells everything forward. So it's a win-win-win, and I appreciate you for doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think community is really important, and like you say, it keeps people on track, and it gives them something that they can at least have a bit more support. A lot of people aren't getting the support of their families, and they're fighting against the grain, and it's very difficult to do that. And you have a lot of people telling me that you're going to die and all these sorts of things. I mean, I had people telling me that too, and I just laughed it off because I just knew how wrong they were. And then they would get about 45-minute lecture on how incorrect they were, and a lot of times they'd be like, oh crap, okay, and they would actually come around and be on my side after that. I didn't have any sort of community really when I started this, because I just sort of came to it on my own, and I was fine because I had a very strong reason for doing this. I was very convinced that this stuff was really bad for me, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And so I didn't talk about it with anyone. I didn't know about it. I didn't know that this was a something to talk about. It was just like, yeah, I'm not eating that crap, and I never thought about proselytizing that to other people, saying, hey, you can get these results too if you get that, because I just didn't even think about it. I just knew that I didn't want to eat that stuff. But I actually attributed how good I felt at the time because I stopped drinking during the rugby season. I'm like, oh my God, getting rid of alcohol is a game changer. And it was. But at that same time, I also got rid of that other stuff. And I didn't realize just how massive a difference that made for me. But then in my later 20s, 25 and on, I was still not drinking during the rugby season, and I wasn't feeling as good, and my body wasn't, holding together as it did previously. And I was thinking, oh, what the hell's going on? Like, I'm just getting older, I guess. I'm 25 now. I'm over the hill. I'm just dying, and that's actually what I thought. And so, but now I know, obviously, but even then, even though I was never going to not do this, when I came back to it a second time, it didn't matter what anyone said. I was just really interested. I was looking into it more and more. That's why I think that, understanding, the why on what we're doing here is very important, is as important and more important than the what. So, okay, yes, you can just sort of follow the example and follow the recipe and get really good results. But you're much more likely to stick to it. You're much more likely to be successful at it if you understand, why it's important and why this makes a difference in your health. And which is why I started, the channel in the first place. But even early on, even though I didn't necessarily need that as a support to stick with it, it was really, really nice to have. So I joined the Facebook groups like Zeroing In on Health and Zero Carb Health, which I still think are two of the best, and they're very strict. They don't mess around. Other ones may be a bit less strict, and you get a bunch of different people saying, "Oh yeah, you can do this, you can do that." You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I actually do, you dipshit, and you're dead ass wrong. And but Zeroing In on Health and Zero Carb Health, I thought were really, really good. Now there's a ton. There's so many now, which is really great because those communities are growing. But for me, I like those really strict ones, and where people are just talking about like, hey, we're doing this really strict, and this is what we're getting, and this is what we're finding, and these are the results. And if you're doing it strict, this is what you should expect, and here's how to troubleshoot these things. I thought those were really helpful. And so I tried to be active on those and try to help people as much as I could as well. And so I think it was a great, for Stefano, for his comment, eating OMAD, that's that idea of intermittent fasting. You're trying to wait out the carbs and the insulin to try to have that come down. So you at least have a patch and a period during the day that your insulin isn't roaring high, and that's better for you. There are a lot of people that still do that, and they still get a significant health benefit from that. And so, that's great. I mean, obviously it's not as great as, just having insulin at a normal level all the time, but it is a lot better than other things. So at least it's a step in the right direction. You shouldn't beat yourself up too much about that. But, as you say, it is simple, but it can be difficult. But it is simple. It's straightforward. You just cut this stuff out and you know what to do. I mean, you've said it there in your comment. You need to get rid of these things. You're justifying, eating carbs because you're doing it OMAD. And that is a better way of eating carbs. If you're going to eat carbs, that's the way to eat carbs, is infrequently, right? But like you say, you don't feel your best. Your back is sore. And, just you've already apparently have gone carnivore and at least done that for periods of time, and you feel a lot better. So just remember that. Just remember that, yeah, it's hard to not eat carbs at first, but that goes away. What also goes away is your diabetes and your back pain and your muscle soreness and your autoimmune issues and your neurological dysfunction and all these other sorts of things that are way more difficult to live with than carbs are to live without. And so just remember that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that carbs, they're addictive and they're engaging for about a week or two. And then you don't even miss them. So if you can make it to the 2-week mark without eating any carbohydrates at all, no artificial sweeteners or anything like that, generally you'll be fine after that. Generally, people don't miss it at all. And if you're having carb cravings, just eat more meat, eat more fatty meat. Those carb cravings will tend to go away. And after about 2 weeks, they're generally gone, and you will not want to bring them back in. A couple months down the road, you have like a bit of carbs in your back, stabbing pain for 4 days. And you'd be like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that crap again. Once you see how good your life is and how much better you feel with this stuff out of your system, it's very hard to go back to feeling like rubbish again and being in pain all the time. And so if you can just get past that 2-week mark, most people do pretty well after that.
Absolutely. I thought I had already got this. I almost passed it right by, but thank you, Jasmine. I'm gastric sleeve patient, 19 months post-op. Any advice for someone like me who can't eat large amounts? Will I need supplements? Definitely speak to the supplement. I think we covered, the gastric sleeve. Same thing applies in your situation. I hope that it works smoothly in a transition. As far as the supplements, what would you say to that, Dr. Chaffee?
Yeah, sometimes, so depending on what those butchers cut out of you, you can actually lose part of your stomach and intestine that either secrete different compounds that help you absorb nutrients, just like intrinsic factor, which comes out of your stomach, and that binds with B12, and that's how you can absorb it. You can't absorb B12 without intrinsic factor through your digestive tract. You can absorb it, sublingually, or intramuscularly in an injection. But if you're trying to absorb it in your digestion, you need intrinsic factor. And so sometimes they cut out the part that has the intrinsic factor, so that's not fun. And then you will have to take injections, or if you're able to get it sublingually, for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get enough from your diet, and other things as well. There are other things that you may find are more difficult to absorb. So just see how you go. Fatty red meat is going to be as nutritionally dense as anything else. It's going to be more dense than anything else. And so you're going to get, if you can avoid supplements on anything, it's going to be on red meat, and certainly grass finished red meat. And adding in some liver and things like that, which are going to be even more nutrient dense as well. And then you just see. So if you're feeling good and everything's fine. If you're not, I think either way, you should probably check your vitamins and minerals and get blood tests to check exactly where you're at. Check your iron levels, check your nutrient levels, all these sorts of things, and see where you're at. And if there's any problems, you might need to supplement more. Maybe that just means eating a bit more liver. Or maybe that means you need injections of B12 and things like that. But either way, you're going to be best served with red meat, and the most nutritious form of red meat that you can get, if you can get and source regeneratively raised, grass-fed and finished beef, even better. If not, just add in a bit of liver and then just test and see if you need any top-ups.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for the super chat. Forts, WA. Husband got a minute change disease. Did I read that wrong? Husband got men change disease after jab. And VM Seattle says low protein consumption. Hungry, help dumping albumin. Went into remission, now regressing. Bought $10 early, didn't do.
Yeah, so I sort of looked at that.
I'm confused.
It looks like I'm going to guess that's a nephrologist. So they're saying that basically got some damage to the kidneys, and from a jab, and then had a nephrologist at Virginia Mason in Seattle says low protein consumption, which is the classic, for kidney dysfunction. You want to have low protein to not stress the kidney. That's completely wrong. That is not borne out by the literature. That is something that is commonly bandied about, but it's if you actually look back to the origins of it, there's no actual basis in science. It was just a best guess, and it's not borne out. So there are, in fact, studies showing that higher protein consumption begets better kidney function. So nothing against the nephrologist at Virginia Mason. Virginia Mason is a great hospital system in Seattle. My family goes to Virginia Mason. I go to Virginia Mason when I'm there. But this is just a common misconception, unfortunately, and but that is not the case. So more protein, more animal-based protein is going to be better. Getting rid of different sorts of plant toxins like oxalates and so on that can cause that are directly nephrotoxic, so damaging to your kidneys, is a very good idea. So just eating meat is a great idea for your husband, especially if he's gotten kidney issues, and hungry help dumping albumin. I don't know, maybe he's leaking albumin out of his kidneys, which is not great. You're gonna have a lot of problems if you're losing too much albumin. So what you need to do is he needs to get enough meat, protein, fats, and all the essential nutrients, and he needs to avoid anything that's going to damage his kidneys further and allow his body to heal, and that should slow down and stop the loss of albumin and other sorts of issues. Went into remission, now regressing. So it sounds like he was doing a bit better and now doing a bit worse. So, you can also think about, what was he doing when things were getting better? Was he starting to eat more meat? And then his doctor said, no, you should eat less protein. And then he started getting worse. I mean, that should tell you all you need to know right there. But, I see countless people. I mean, the first time, so, talking about, zeroing in on health and zero carb health, I think it was in zero carb health, people were talking about kidney function, and I'd already seen the studies on this. So, I was already aware of this, but it was interesting to watch people say like, yeah, my kidney function is getting better and better and better. All these people, and I see it in labs all the time. People's kidney function is improving dramatically if they have kidney issues. Not everyone does. And that was the first time I saw someone talk about how they'd actually come off dialysis on a carnivore diet. A lady in that group had talked about how she had been on carnivore for 9 months. She'd been on dialysis, and her doctor, nephrologist, saying, "You're going to kill yourself. You're going to kill yourself. Your kidneys are gone." And which I thought was a bit silly, because if you have zero kidney function, you're already on dialysis and on the transplant list. How are you going to make it worse? I'm sorry, you can't get negative kidney function. You just start sucking in, liquid through your urethra or something like that. I mean, that's just a bit insane. Just something that's like, oh my God, you have no kidney function. You need to, no. Like, at the very least, it's not gonna hurt you, because there's nothing to hurt, right? So it's the damage is done at that point. But she stayed with it, and she was just like, no, I know this is the right way for me to eat. I know this is what's good for me. And after 9 months, she was able to come off dialysis, which is not supposed to happen.
No.
It doesn't happen until you get a kidney transplant. I've seen 3 of those now.
Wow.
Right. And so like nothing, I don't sort of say, oh, no, that can't happen or something, regrowing a limb, that's not going to happen. But, almost anything else short of that, jury's out for me. It's just like, well, let's just wait and see. Let's just see what happens, because I've seen some absolutely miraculous things happen when people just start eating properly and get rid of all this crap that is plaguing their body and their health. So that's what I would suggest for your husband. And just to reassure you that, there are absolutely studies in peer-reviewed journals and top, publications showing clearly that higher protein actually improves kidney function. And that is exactly what we're seeing clinically, and when people go carnivore and increase their meat and protein.
That was one of my first jobs in EMS, was taking people back and forth to dialysis. So that is amazing to hear some people coming off of that, because I watch people deteriorate going 3 times a week, getting those treatments for 4 hours, sitting in that chair, to know that there's hope for those people, putting the proper thing in. Is it going to happen in every case? Absolutely, probably not. But it can happen. It's showing that it's happening, and that's amazing. So there is hope.
Yeah, definitely.
My man said he named his hemorrhoid hair. You don't never know what you're gonna get out of Kip. Him and old Harry tracking, what was it? Tracking deer through the wood, right? Ain't that what you was doing?
Oh yeah, old Harry, he was something else, but I'm glad he's gone. And I wasn't expecting it. Just I started carnivore and just give it time, and then one day I was like, man, he's gone, and he'd been there for years.
You can barely see the skin tags. That's another one, skin tags, hemorrhoids, skin tags. I remember Dave's got a great video you guys need to check out about the hair. Like, go check it out, man. There's so much cool stuff out there. Oh, let's see here. Miss Marnie Matt. Dr. Chapey, is there a connection with sodium deficiency and asthma?
That's a good question. I don't actually know one way or the other. I don't know of any. But I'm not a pulmonologist, so like I wouldn't know all the finer points of respiratory medicine, but not that I know of anyway. I haven't ever heard that. But it's something I can try to look up. I've never come across that though, that would cause asthma anyway. And certainly, the patients that we get in the hospital, they have very particular reasons for dropping their sodium, in our service, but they don't seem to have, asthma attacks and things like that on the ward. Maybe they're just not predisposed to that, but I haven't seen that. And so that's not anything that's come up for me anyway.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for the super chat. Adam, I appreciate having people like Anthony available to answer our questions, especially since many of our physicians seem to be unaware of the topics. Oh, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And like I said earlier, I really enjoy this time with this panel. Coming together on Friday nights, get Dr. Chapey answering, these medical questions. Cassie, Kip, Dave, I love you guys, man. Like, get together. I always look forward to it. It's always a good time, good information, have a laugh, conversate, learn some stuff, and carry on. So it is definitely amazing. Dollar PC Twin, thank you for the super chat. I would like to say thank you to all of you. I have been on carnivore journey for 3 weeks now and have a hard time normalizing my blood glucose. Was in the 300s, now 77 to 180, and feeling much better. That is great. That's awesome. Good to hear.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Also just be careful. If you have blood sugar that's high, presumably you're on medication for your diabetes, and so you can't just come off of that right away, right? So you need to carefully control that, and if you will be able to wean off, but you don't necessarily are able to do that right away, and you still want to keep your blood sugar controlled. Right. So you still want to keep your blood sugar in a good range. And as that's coming down more, you can slowly titrate off these things, but you need to do so with your doctor or with your diabetic nurse, whoever is helping you with your dosages of all your different medications. You need to work well with them. And you just tell them, hey, I've changed up my diet, I'm exercising, I'm doing all these sorts of things, and my blood pressure or my blood sugar is improving. We might need to rationalize these sorts of things. You don't necessarily need to tell them what you're doing, but just tell them that you're doing it and that you're getting these changes, and your blood sugar is markedly improved. And you're saying, okay, hey, do I need to start coming down on these things? And just have them give you a plan and a rationalization of your medication, so that you can slowly wean off these things safely, so you can still have the blood sugar control that you need to maintain at the moment, before your body can do it on its own completely without medication. Most people will get off medication, especially type 2 diabetics. Not everyone can. So just be mindful of that, and just be mindful that this is a process that will take time. It took decades for you to get into the position that you're in now. So it's not just going to be resolved in a couple weeks. The saying that I like is, you walk 10 miles into the woods, there's no shortcuts. You have to walk 10 miles back out again too. So, you have to undo a lot of damage. It's not going to take decades to undo all this stuff, but it's going to take a while. And so just be patient. Do take medication if you still need it, and work with your doctor on a weaning plan when appropriate.
But that is amazing that it's headed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Huge. And in 3 weeks, you went from 300 to 77, or even 300 to 180. Massive.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah.
So that's really well done. And you should be very, very happy with that. I'm very proud of that. And also, just that should be very reassuring that you actually are on the right course. You have objective evidence that this is improving your medical situation. So well done there.
100%.
Yay.
Lisa, thank you for this super chat. I don't know what happened. A few of them have done that tonight. Don't know what's going on with that, but thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Lindy, oh my goodness, my friend. Yeah, so 700 pounds down to 300 pounds, 1 year, 6 months.
Jesus.
Holy smokes.
Whoa.
That's amazing. That's like 50 or 60 pounds more than me, friend. I know, that is crazy fast. Congratulations.
Wow.
Love to walk, but struggle with sore hips, joints. 52 years old, strict BBB and E. You got me all sidetracked. Any suggestions on exercise to help strengthen backs, hips? Thanks for all that you do. Thank you and congratulations, friend. I would say squats, first of all, but second of all, my thing, and I'll share my concern with you, and we can move on to somebody else that's much more wise than I am about the issue. Even at 300 pounds, I wanted to be careful. I had lost, over 100 pounds, but I still was very conscientious about working out too much other than just walking, because, I knew that at 300 pounds, even at 5'8" or 5'9", I was still at a weight that I didn't want to injure myself. And so that's the one thing that I did want to throw out. Now I'm at a point where I need to start working at, doing something, because I don't feel, well, I mean, other than just walking, I would like to start working out. Cause I'm getting so small, I don't know how to function. You know what I'm saying? So what about you, Cassie? I know you've been doing the DDP yoga and those kinds of things. Hey, how have you been able to see that strengthen your body? Because I know you guys been killing it.
Heck yeah. So I didn't start with DDP yoga. When I decided to get back into exercise, I stretched and I took my time with it. I didn't push it. As soon as I started experiencing pain, I would slow down a little bit. But then we got into, I started getting into DDP yoga, and it didn't happen overnight. I wasn't very consistent with it. And I modified those moves. So DDP yoga is a type of yoga from Diamond Dallas Page. He was a former wrestler. And, it's just a different take on yoga. But that has greatly increased my strength, and also with the less aches and pains. Now my hips used to hurt quite a bit, even with stretching when I first started working on that. But after a while, it's just about conditioning. So I would recommend starting with stretching, some good leg lifts, but you also have to be careful with that, because you can hyperextend your muscles, but you just have to work to your ability. So I would go with stretching, and then maybe some DDP, and start some Power 90. But Lindy, that is so amazing. I am so happy for you, and congratulations. And you just keep fighting the good fight. It's only going to get better. Who would be next? Would that be Mr. Kip?
Well, Kip, what you got?
Well, I would add to what Cassie was saying with the DDPY yoga. It kind of sounds like we work for them, but we don't, or at least I know I don't. But I started doing it a couple months ago, mainly because even though because I was almost 500 pounds when I started in January and had got under like close to 400 pounds. And then, but I was still having trouble with simple things like walking, and there was some tightness in my lower back and everything. So I started DDPY yoga like probably 2 months ago now. And within the past month, I've actually been able to start walking. And now I walk. Well, I don't walk every day. I walk about every other day. And then I do some DDPY yoga and stuff like that. So it's been helping me, and if you haven't tried it, that might be something. And there are other programs out there as well, but that one I just liked it because I thought it was kind of affordable, and I could do it in my home and just watch the videos or whatever. Dave, you got anything to add?
First, just congratulations. That's awesome. But I'm not really sure about anything. I don't do a lot of exercise myself, so I'm not really sure what would be good for strengthening back or hips. Dr. Chafee, anything from you?
Well, yeah, I mean, just really the main thing, just in the theme is just doing what you can. I mean, that's an amazing recovery and improvement. Down 400 pounds in a year and a half. That's incredible. So you'd be very proud of that, and just do whatever you can. So if that's walking, if that's body weight squats, the yoga, all these sorts of things, just work your way up and do whatever you can, but do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, so you can walk. Try to walk as far as you can. Challenge yourself. Where get a bit tired, great. Try to go a little further the next time. When you're able to do body weight squats, those are great. The resistance exercises, the anaerobic sort of exercises, are very, very good for you. They help stimulate your body to grow, heal, and repair. Your body heals in lines of stress, and so if you're doing body weight squats and all these sorts of things, you're moving those joints. You're going through full ranges of motion. If and when you can, that's going to improve the health of those joints as well. And so, stretching, yoga, these sorts of things, that will, also put you through passive and active motion of your joints as well, and just get those moving all the way. And that's actually how nutrients get into the joints, so that can help strengthen up the joints as well. And so, walking is good. You're doing that already, but the more you do that, the better you'll be. So you're going to get sore hips, but those will continue to get better. I'm sure you're walking more now and in less pain than you were, even a few months ago. So just keep doing as much as you can, and you will continue to improve. And eventually you'll be doing HIIT classes and, coaching them if you want to. So, just keep going and whatever you do. Yeah. And, people do these turnarounds. So yeah, just keep doing just more and more and more. Try, body weight sort of exercises if and when you can. And then just keep doing a little bit more and a little bit more, and you'll just continue to improve.
Oh my goodness. Did I say 50 pounds? I meant 150 pounds. That math is hard, Good gracious. I'm trying to math on Friday night. Congratulations. Absolutely. Yeah. So you said 400 pounds. I'm like, my goodness, did I just say, whatever. Congratulations either way. And I think we spoke on Instagram, and I want to talk to you. Let's chat one day, because that's crazy. That's incredible. I want to hear more about the story. So we're almost to the end. Aaliyah lost 30 pounds. Congratulations, Aaliyah. Let's see here. Ryan, been trying carnivore 3 weeks, had trouble getting enough calories. Went to the ER today with a speedy heart rate, some tachycardia. No bad EKG found, very low potassium. Thoughts on why that was and how to fix it, please. Dr. Chafee, you can have that. With that tachycardia.
Yeah, so, well, low potassium, that's very rare. So I mean, you need sort of your doctor, may have investigated on top of that, but it could be something else going on. Low potassium, even low sodium, like actually clinically on a lab test, is exceedingly rare. No bad EKG, that's good. You usually get like a fast heart rate from low potassium if you're getting like atrial fibrillation, and that's usually when you get like a fast heart rate. But there are the odd people that actually do need to take a bit of electrolytes, especially early on when they're transitioning, when insulin has a role to play in electrolyte retention in your kidneys. And I think of this as our body compensating for having too much insulin, and so it actually counters that. But then when that counter goes away, you can have a bit of a withdrawal. You can have different sort of medications that you come off of. You're on blood pressure medication, you come off too quick, you can have reactive hypertension and things like that. And so you can sort of think of it in the same way. Your insulin's coming down to a normal level. Now you're having sort of a reactive, excessive loss of electrolytes. For some people, the vast majority of people don't actually have that to the clinical extent that you're seeing, where your potassium will actually be low on blood tests. That's quite rare. But if you are one of those people, if your doctor can't find any other reason why your potassium would be low and everything else is normal, supplement with some potassium. And you're just one of those lucky few that do need to take a bit of electrolytes. I would take the kind of electrolytes that don't have any stevia or erythritol or sugar or sweeteners or flavorings, because you don't want that stuff in your life. And just you can just take that for a few weeks, and then you can try coming off of them. And most people will be fine after that. Most people will find that their bodies normalize after a few weeks. So that's what I would suggest. Oh, and then trouble getting enough calories. Fattier meat is better, right? You're going to be more satiated with it. You're also going to get more nutrients with it as well, because again, you need the fat, you need the lean. And so you need to eat, a few times a day. But then again, if your body's telling you don't eat, meat doesn't taste good, stop eating, and you think this is not enough calories, maybe your body knows something that you don't. And as long as you're eating to satiety and trying to eat a couple times a day, see how you go, because I've noticed that too. When I had weight to lose, excess body fat to lose, there would be days that I wouldn't want to eat at all, even though I'd worked out for like 6 hours. Well, I have to eat because I worked out for 6 hours. I'm going to work out for 6 hours tomorrow. I have to eat because I need the energy, not realizing I had about 15 weeks of energy in my gut, that I wasn't ever going to, be able to work through in one training session. Right. So, it could just be your body telling you that you don't actually need as much as you think you do. But you need to make sure that you're eating to the point that fatty meat stops tasting good. Lean meat will stop tasting good much quicker, because your body's like, yep, that's enough of that nonsense. Give me the good stuff. And so if you're eating fatty meat and you're getting satiated, that's probably fine. And so, just try eating a couple times a day with fatty meat. And if your body's telling you to stop, then you just stop. It's fine.
He said EKG. My mind instantly went back to Bob Page and like emergency care in the streets. We were learning, rhythms and SVT, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you got to take that one. I hope everything goes smooth. Get you some electrolytes. Let's see here. Carnivore Pete, what do you think of APOB? Seems a useless LDL proxy.
Yeah, I would look. I mean, there are some good videos on ApoB from Paul Mason. Very quick, very pithy, just very short and to the point. But first of all, you don't increase your ApoB with fatty meat and dietary cholesterol. Just don't. And ApoB. You don't know if this is sort of the good kind or the bad kind, because ApoB can come from all sorts of different sorts of areas and places and all these sorts of things. And so it's a really unreliable marker. But again, cholesterol was never a cause of heart disease. It was never even associated with it when it was demonized and vilified. So when all of those associative studies were shown to be fraudulent, and then you look back at their own data and they're like, yeah, there isn't even an association. In fact, in a lot of cases, like the Framingham study, there was an inverse association. So the lower people's cholesterol were, the higher their rate of cardiovascular accident and death. So I just don't care. I really don't care. Dr. Baker has a much more nuanced approach to that, saying, hey, you shouldn't just completely ignore it. I completely ignore it because I think it's stupid. I don't think it was ever a problem in the first place. I don't completely ignore it, but I mostly ignore it. I don't test for it in myself, certainly. And I don't really see the utility in testing for it in others because it was just never a marker. Okay, well, what about this one? And what about this cholesterol? What about cholesterol was never the problem, ever. Never. You're right. So, I think that it's important to just, throw that away and just be like, hey, look, when you come back to me with some hard evidence, with some interventional trials and some randomized controlled trials, some high level evidence to show that we need to be worried about some of these things, then we can talk. But until then, you're just going off of all of these associative studies that have been shown to be false and fraudulent. I have no time for it. It's not worth my time. And so, all of these things, again, it comes down to the fact that, you're supposed to eat fatty meat. We're supposed to eat saturated fat. Dietary cholesterol tends to not change your serum cholesterol at all. And saturated fat has been shown time and time again to not only have, an unreliable relationship with LDL cholesterol, but also have absolutely no association with heart disease and an inverse association with stroke rate. That was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology in 2020. So this is just not a thing for me. And so we're talking about ApoB and ApoA and all these sorts of things. Whatever those things are doing, if you're eating what you're supposed to eat, you really don't have to worry about it. The only sort of thing that you can glean from your cholesterol studies, if your HDL is high and your triglycerides are low, you're in good shape. You're not damaging yourself. But it's not the cholesterol that's necessarily causing a problem, though. That's sort of a surrogate marker for other sorts of inflammation, oxidative stress, and other sorts of things happening to you that is harmful. Right. And there are better ways of looking at that. You look at your HbA1c, for instance. That's a much better indicator. High, even damaged SDLDL is still only a weak association with heart disease, like 1.7x, right? So it's a 70% increase. Oh my gosh, 70%. Okay, well, metabolic syndrome is 6x, right? So 600% increased risk of developing heart disease. Type 2 diabetes is 10x. It's 1,000% increased risk, right? So that 70% is just really not making the table for me. So there are other markers and things that we can look at that are much more sensitive and specific for this. So I just don't waste my time.
Oh my goodness, I hit a button. Let's see here. Right there. Always learn so much from these live streams. Today I learned at 520 pounds, I am a flyweight. Well, you don't have to stay there. That's some good stuff, my friend. Stay strong, keep pushing forward, and you'll be there before you know it, man. Let's see here. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. I'll keep hitting the wrong button and it keeps scrolling me to the bottom. Lisa, thank you for the super chat.
So I was just going to say, Lisa's been trying to get a question through. Apparently, it's just not coming up. So that's the second one. But she's just commented on the normal feed that she's like, "Hey, you guys skipped my question." I've asked her to say it again. Apparently, she's tried it again. It hasn't come up. So I've just asked her to just please just type it in the normal chat. You don't need to do a super chat. Just do a normal chat. Yeah. Tag me in it. And so it sort of pop up, and we can try to get to your question because we definitely don't want to miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. It must be on a different channel because I'm not seeing it come up on the bottom either.
Well, it's on sort of the live chat sort of thing, but she's on my channel anyway.
Okay. Yeah. I'll read this next one, and while you look for it and she types it in, then I'll get this last one, and then we'll cover that one, and then we'll call it. Trucker Robert, appreciate the super chat, brother. Trucker, how much should I eat per day? Sit 10 hours only walking, need to lose 70 pounds. I would eat until you are satiated. I would, as far as that's concerned, I would eat until your body says you've had enough, and then not eat until you get hungry again is my suggestion. What do you got, Dave? What you got a suggestion for Robert?
Yeah, I would say the same. Eat until you're not hungry. Provided eating until you're not hungry is not eating Pop-Tarts and cereal.
Right.
Eat the steak, eat the eggs, eat whatever it is you're eating that's kind of carnivore, and just stay satiated, and you'll do all right. Kip?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say kind of the same thing as y'all. Just eat, and whenever you're, make sure you're eating the right things, and just eat and let your body kind of tell you whenever, hey, over time your body will tell you, hey, I'm good, because you can't just sit there and eat tons and tons. I even tried to do a challenge a while back, like an idiot, and tried to eat like a huge ribeye. And my body, like halfway through it, my body was like, dude, you cannot do this. Like, you're full. So your body will start giving you those signals.
Cassie, what you got? How much you eating a day?
So when I drive my big rig across country, I usually
Right. Well, you drove to Chicago, right?
I did. I brought a couple burger patties with me, and I had some bacon. I didn't need to eat much, and I did have earmuffs, Dr. Chafee, coffee with cream, and and that definitely helped keep me going. Now, I don't recommend that, but it's real simple, especially once you're fat adapted. You eat until you're full, but that's a whole different stress that I really don't know about. So I don't know if that affects your hunger as well, but good for you being carnivore and having to deal with all the side effects, and which will turn into a positive while being on the road. I know that can't exactly be very easy. Next.
But I would just agree with everyone there. You're still eating intuitively. If you're eating the right thing, your body will tell you how much you need. So for what you're doing, your body's going to need a certain amount of energy, and it's going to prioritize the excess fat that you have as well. It's going to use that as well, and then it's going to ask for a bit more in the way of eating. So just eat intuitively. If you're eating only fatty meat and you're only drinking water, no artificial sweeteners or drinks or this and that and all that other sort of stuff, just meat, just water, then you can actually listen to your body. And so just eat what your body's telling you to, and you should be fine, and you will lose weight and gain health, even sitting in a truck and just walking. You'll continue to do that if you're able to work out and you're able to start lifting weights and doing other sorts of things. You'll lose more fat. You'll put on muscle too, so you may not lose as much weight, but you'll lose more fat, and you'll improve your health in other ways as well. So but yeah, just eat intuitively, just like any other time. It's always the same. If you're eating the right thing, your body will tell you exactly what it needs.
I lost my first 75 pounds before I started walking at all, sitting on the couch still, because I couldn't walk. I mean, I did a little bit. So, I mean, I was almost 500 pounds, but at the same time, it's the idea of calories in, calories out in the grand scheme of things. You put the right stuff in, the right stuff will happen, my friend. Oh, where the heck did Doc C ever need to lose weight? His earlobes, my man, right? Did you find that question?
I'm still looking for it. I'm still sort of trying to find her in the chat. Yeah, so I don't know if she's typing it out, but I've just sort of asked her again just to try to put it in the normal chat, and don't have to do a super chat or anything silly like that. Just
Amber and Dan, good to see you guys. Miss Perfectly Imperfect Keto, good to see you. A lot of you guys jumping in. So let's see. Yeah. Yeah. I think did you guys see anything that I missed on the thing that you want to bring up real quick? Or Dave, you got anything?
No, I didn't have it. I didn't notice anything going by.
Okay. Awesome.
I was just going to say sort of an announcement. I'm actually going to be publishing our conversation, Shawn. So the interview that I did with Shawn, I'll be putting that up on Monday morning Perth time, which would be Sunday evening, sort of around the same time as this live, but just on Sunday for people in the US and Monday for people in Australia. And so I'll be putting that up then, so people can check that out and join. I'll be doing a premiere and people can sort of chat live while they watch it as well. And yeah, so that'll be going up. That'll be going up on Monday.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Look
forward to that.
Yeah,
cool.
So that'll be good.
Awesome. Everybody go check it out. And matter of fact, everybody here, before you check out, before you call it a night, stop what you're doing and look for that little like button and hit that whatever channel you're on, and push that video out and share it with somebody that you think it'll help. That would really, I appreciate that. And we look forward to meet with you guys the next time we get together. Yeah, man. Give us an update before we get off. Where you been at, brother? What's going on? What's going on with you? I hadn't heard from you. I thought you was taking a nap over there.
Nah, man. I just I'm like Cassie was saying earlier, just absorbing it and learning. I mean, for years and years, I ate a horrible diet and lived a crazy lifestyle. So right now I'm trying to get everything on track and taking in all the knowledge. But yeah, I'm doing good right now. I just hit my 200 days carnivore, and I was pretty excited about that. I took my scale away, so I don't have an update on my weight, but I know the last time I had weighed, I was right at 90 pounds. I think I was 88 pounds down. But we're still headed in the right direction. I feel lighter, and I'm moving better and getting more energy and just more strength. I just feel better every day. But I'm not so focused on the scale right now. I'm just focused on doing what I'm supposed to be doing. What about you, Dave?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just kind of focused, going along, doing my thing, and love being on here with you guys, and looking forward to getting more and more into the community as the weeks go by. Yeah, Cassie.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to say thank y'all for showing up this evening. And thank you to Dr. C. You are always a wealth of information. And I know each and every person in this live stream, they're so appreciative of you and just you taking the time. And it really speaks a lot of your character and that you truly care about getting the word out. And it's just, I really can't, even though I'm saying these words, I can't express my appreciation for you. So thank you so much, Dr. C. From all of us, I'd like to say thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm glad that this is helpful, and it's one I certainly get a lot out of it too. It's always interesting for me. I always love hearing everyone's perspective on things as well, and so I appreciate you guys as well. And yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And so, until next time, you guys, we will look forward to getting back together. And I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the super chats, all the generosity. You guys go over and above. Love on somebody. Share it with somebody you love. Share it with somebody you think might can use it. And yeah, hit the like buttons. Hit the like buttons. Hit the share buttons. Hit the subscribe buttons. And then jump on everybody else's. It should be links in the description. If we missed a question or anything, you put it in the chat, and I didn't get to it because it was on a different page. Go down into the chat after the video, not the live chat. That part will go away, and put it in the comment section on whatever channel you are, and we'll see if we can't hit those there, and we'll get you an answer. But until next time, we'll see you guys. Take care. Stay strong and keep pushing forward.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.